And good afternoon. My name is Ryan Belmore. I am the owner and publisher of What's Up Newp, and we are chatting with the candidates. We're bringing the candidates with you, an opportunity to meet the candidates, get to know them a little bit more, because during this COVID crisis, it is tough for them to go door to door. It's just a unique and different way of campaigning, as well as chatting and getting to know the candidates that are running for local office. Today, we're focused on the Portsmouth Town Council candidates. And Mark Ryan, who currently sits on the Portsmouth Town Council, joins us. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Mr. Belmore. It's nice to see you.
It feels like morning. I want to keep saying good morning. It's a Saturday. It just feels different. So
yeah, I think since this epidemic has descended on us, everyone's schedule is disrupted, and time doesn't seem to flow the same. I'm looking out the window and suddenly it's autumn. Wasn't it spring a couple of weeks ago?
And suddenly it's raining.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank God we've been at water restrictions here in Portsmouth the last couple of months, so we need the rain.
You certainly do. For the people that may have just moved to Portsmouth, first-time voters, just finally paying attention to who is elected at Portsmouth Town Council for the first time, why don't you give us a little bit of background on who you are and how long you've been on the council?
Okay, so who am I? My name is Mark Bryan, and I have been an Aquidneck Island resident for most of my life. I was actually born in Boston. We moved down to Middletown when I was in fourth grade. I went through the Middletown public school system. Went to high school at Portsmouth Abbey. That was my mother's choice, and we don't need to get into that. I went to college at Harvard, where I met my wife, Linda Ujifusa, whom I think you've already interviewed, and is also on the town council with me. We like to tell people we both ran because we needed more things to argue about. So after college, I went to medical school at Brown, and I'm a doctor since 1987, I guess, and I've been a primary care physician here in Rhode Island since 1991. We did move away to San Francisco for a couple of years, and housing prices were a little extreme, and there was a large earthquake, and Oakland caught fire, and for various reasons, we thought maybe move back to Rhode Island. So we chose Portsmouth because of its really good school system, and because we both love Aquidneck Island. It's just a beautiful place to live. It's a beautiful place to raise kids. Here in Portsmouth, we can open the door and the kids can run out into the backyard. In San Francisco, you really can't do that. So we just thought this was a better place to raise a family, and here we are. So I think the reason why I went into politics was kind of my experience as a physician. Over the last 30 years, it's become increasingly difficult to take care of people as the insurance industry has intruded more and more into medical decision-making. And I became more and more interested in the idea of a national health insurance program, so much so that I joined a national group, Physicians for a National Health Program, a little bit, maybe 15 years ago. And that is what this group is working for. I happen to be the chair of the Rhode Island chapter, mainly because I think nobody else wanted to do it. You wind up doing a lot of things for that reason, I found throughout life. But anyway, showing up, as it were, it's sort of like call for volunteers, and everybody but you has the good sense to step back a step. So when Senator Sanders decided to run for president, we started to get some real interest that maybe this was a possibility, because the last presidential candidate, the serious presidential candidate who had advocated national health insurance, was Harry Truman back in 1948. So we worked to try to get single payer national health insurance passed. Sanders didn't get elected. But what we realized is that if you don't participate, you don't influence decision making. And we thought, well, we're not going to run for president, but there are things that could be done here in Portsmouth that are worthwhile. Maybe we can't implement a national health insurance program in Portsmouth, but we can help make the community a better place. If we're going to advocate to try to improve things for people, then maybe we should start locally. So in 2016, Linda and I both ran for town council, And for reasons known only to themselves, the voters for Portsmouth elected us. And then we got reelected in 2018, and here we are doing it again. Again, clearly we don't learn from our mistakes, and we're hoping that the voters in Portsmouth don't learn from theirs either. So, so that's kind of what we're doing now. So we're married. We live here in Portsmouth. We raised our 3 kids here. They went through the Portsmouth school system, which, thank goodness, is still an excellent school system. Portsmouth did very well by our kids. One went to New York University, and the other 2 went to Harvard. And this is after a public school education. So we are big fans of the Portsmouth school system, and that's part of one of the why we're interested in town government, because we want to help to maintain the excellence of our schools.
I was going to ask you why you're seeking re-election.
Well, let's see. I guess several reasons. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and having been involved with the process of accumulating information on what needs to be done, you sort of develop an interest in making sure that things get done. So, in the last 4 years, our town administrator, who is excellent, has, with our input, has together a rolling 5-year plan of how we're going to budget town finances. And that was the first time, I don't know, certainly in the last 30 years, that the town has had a rolling 5-year capital plan. We conducted a survey of all the town's properties. The town of Portsmouth owns a rather unusually large amount of property on things like the Glen Manor House, the 2 old schools, Hutchinson and Coggeshall. Hutchinson is actually has been our senior center. We've got the Glen Farm properties. So there's a lot of properties, and it takes money to maintain these properties. And no one had really systematically looked at, well, how much money do these properties need to consume to be properly kept up? And do we necessarily want to do that with all of them? So the Jacobs report actually did a systematic assessment of town properties and found, if we had a bottomless pit of money, which obviously we don't, we could blow $50 million trying to keep everything in Portsmouth fully repaired, fully functional, and up to date. And obviously we're not going to do that. So one of the things that has to be done is prioritize. And what do the taxpayers want us to spend their money on? So in addition to the survey on the state of town properties, we also did a survey. What do people want in this town? Do they want, is it all Parks and Rec? Do we want to, one of the things that's been talked about a lot by folks, do we want a civic center, a Portsmouth community center? A lot of people wanted that. How do we want to get rid of our trash? We've got we have our transfer station in which a lot of people use, and a lot of other people have curbside. One of the things that I think we need to look at is how can we get the best deal for everybody, and what's the most cost-effective way of doing that? Trash collection is an ongoing problem, and of course, Portsmouth is very rural, so we've got a lot of people with yard waste. How do you get rid of that? So all of these things, they take some money, and nothing is free. So, having commissioned these studies, and then we're beginning to actually address how are we going to meet the challenges addressed in the Jacobs report. How are we going to continue to address trash disposal, especially since at some point the Johnson landfill is going to close? What do we do then? So that has to be examined. In Portsmouth, we have 2 very low-lying areas. We've got Common Fence Point and Island Park. 1938 devastated those areas. What have we done to try to improve our preparedness for the next category 3, 4, or 5 hurricane that comes rolling up the bay? One of the main access points to Common Fence Point runs under an old railroad bridge, and it floods regularly. So we have to examine, how do people get in and out of these places in an emergency, and how can we make these areas more resilient when the next big hurricane comes. That's going to require a lot of effort. We've got roads to maintain, and then we've got 2 state roads, East and West Main Road, When I was in high school, I had a summer job over on the, on the Navy base in, well, it was the Naval Underwater Assistance Center, it's Newark now. But I used to have to bicycle up part of East Main Road, cross over, and then up West Main Road. I wouldn't dare to do that now. And it's really a shame because Requidnick Island is eminently navigable by bicycle. We're not a large area. I mean, you should be able to live in Portsmouth and bicycle in good weather to your job in Newport or Middletown or wherever. And right now, that's not really safe. So, we are in the process of looking at enacting a green and complete streets ordinance. And then how are we going to accomplish that? Again, that's going to cost money. So, again, we could really blow the budget with all of this stuff, but we have to keep taxes low. People can't afford to keep paying. So, again, having seen all this information gotten together and been, partially responsible for getting the information together, I kind of feel obligated to try to be part of the decision-making process now that we have the information. How do we act on it? So there's a lot of things coming up that I think, because of my training as a physician, we try to practice what's called evidence-based medicine. You don't make therapeutic decisions for your patients based on what you happen to see on the back of the cereal box this morning. You try to, keep on top of journals, studies. You try to figure out, you try to learn and keep abreast of what is currently considered best practices in medicine. Well, I think that same attitude needs to be brought to town government. We can't have, just because somebody shows up at a meeting doesn't mean we should be doing what they tell us to do. We need to find out what the majority of people want to do, and then we need to find out, what is the most cost-effective way of doing it. So, again, I feel that with that perspective, I'm a reasonable person to be on town council, and now that my kids are up and out, I have the time to do this. So. I feel kind of obligated. I mean, this, after all, is what Jefferson, Madison, Washington felt representative government should be about. People who have the opportunity to serve and don't have a vested interest or a financial interest in the work, but are trying to do it for the good of the community. And that's what I think Linda and I are trying to do now.
When you brought up a lot of opportunities, issues, concerns, you think there's anything else on the top of a Portsmouth resident's mind when they go to bed or wake up in the morning that you didn't already mention?
Well, I think what's on the top of everybody's mind is, when can we stop wearing these things? So, but I can't help that one. But I think what concerns people are things that they encounter on a daily basis. What is it that I'm going to come into contact with? What's going to affect my life today? And again, not very glamorous, but road maintenance and trash collection are things that affect us every day. So one of the things that we have to do is to try to keep our roads, in good working order. And again, people don't want to wake up some morning and find this enormous tax bill in their mailbox. So we have to do this in a cost-effective manner. And our town administrator and our Department of Public Works head these are excellent people, and they are doing a really good job at, again, prioritizing what roads need to be, need the most maintenance. How do we do it, and how do we keep this process going without jacking the budget up beyond people's ability to afford it? So yeah, I think those are the things that people are worried about: is what am I going to be dealing with today? What kind of roads am I going to be driving on? If I have school-age kids, what's going on in the school? What am I going to do with the trash? Those are the things that really, I think, matter to most people, because they encounter them every day.
You have brought up the success you've seen your children have coming through Portsmouth school system. How close are you paying attention to all of the school talk coming from the southern part of the island, the regionalization talk, the unification talk, the question 2 bonds question on the Newport ballot? Are you paying attention? Are you having any conversations about that?
Yeah, we've had, there've been several town council meetings, and obviously the school committee's been talking about this as well, and then we talked to them. So yeah, I mean, logically, just looking at it in the big picture, yes, it makes more sense if you have a larger school district. There are economies of scale. We already purchase food for the schools in it, with other communities. Could we be doing other things in common, and how would that benefit us? So I think this has to be looked at carefully because, obviously I am on the Portsmouth Town Council. I am not on the Newport City Council. So my primary elected responsibility is to the people in this town. So, we have to look very carefully at what financial liabilities are Newport Middletown facing. Newport's looking to build a whole new high school. Could that be done more efficiently if we combine things? And then should we be looking at even larger picture issues such as, should Aquidneck Island have a vocational school? How would we do that? So I think before we start saying, okay, let's just all get together and we'll pool our resources and everything will be fine, we need to look at all these issues and come up with a, is this feasible? Is this the best thing for the students and families of Portsmouth? And those questions have to be examined carefully before we can make final decisions. So yeah, I think it's something that we really need to look at. But we need to look at how if there is going to be cooperation, collaboration among the three communities on Aquidneck Island, what's the best way for it to be done, and what's the most advantageous way for the people of Portsmouth?
When Portsmouth voters go to vote or vote on their mail ballot, there will be one statewide question on the back and 12 Portsmouth questions. Anything you want anything you want voters to know about any of those questions?
Not really. That the Portsmouth, well, I mean, I shouldn't even say that. People should definitely know what they're voting for. So yeah, I think you should read the ballot initiatives. But the Portsmouth initiatives were all measures passed by our charter review committee. That was, that was a very well-run committee, very thoughtful, and a lot of the changes that they made, people should just vote yes on. At least all the Portsmouth ones, anyway. You can have your own opinions about the state one, but the Portsmouth ones are, well, the only one that's really substantive is the, there was some weird provision in our charter previously that the town council somehow had some say as to whether town documents could be released for public view or not. And that's frankly in violation of, the Freedom of Information Act. It's certainly, it doesn't comport with the state regulations. So that the town, the charter review committee very wisely struck that language from the statute. So I think the Portsmouth questions are they should just be automatic yeses. These are things that to make our charter make sense and to make it comport with state law. So those should be just vote yes on all of them.
A lot of it's housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
But definitely read them and just make sure you understand what you're voting on.
Yeah, because, again, this year it's pretty straightforward, but that isn't always the case. So, we should not get into the habit of just saying, well, it looks okay, so and check it off, or there's no way I can check. No, we should all, this is a representative democracy. It is not a spectator sport. Your vote counts, and you should know what you're voting for. So I think this year, the Portsmouth initiatives are pretty benign, but that isn't always the case, and we should always be in the habit of reading the fine print and knowing what we're voting for.
Mark, is there anything, I know there's so much we can talk about, but you can only fit so much in 20 minutes or so. Is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you would like to?
There's just so much stuff that's happening in this country right now. There's a lot of very divisive politicking going on at the federal level. There's the state level as well. We're blessed here in Portsmouth right now that things are fairly quiet, but it wasn't always the case, and it probably won't always be the case. I think folks should. One thing I would like, we've been touching on this off and on, but I think it's just so important. When Linda and I were going around knocking doors the last two elections, we're not doing it this time, partially because there's only 7 of us, 8 of us running for 7 seats. It seems kind of silly to be bothering people on their weekend to just vote. I want to make that 7/8 chance if you're voting for me an 8 out of 8 chance. I mean, it just doesn't seem worthwhile wasting people's time. But anyway, I think one thing we noticed knocking on doors is that people are actually, by and large, are very thoughtful, and people need to remain that way. We need to be reasonable. We need to be calm. We need to be cool. We need to try to pay attention to what's going on in the country right now, as well as what's going on in our town, and get involved. One of the reasons why we've only got 8 people running for 7 seats is that not everybody wants to get involved, and there's some people who can't for various reasons. But this is something we all ought to be interested in. We all ought to be doing. So I just encourage everybody, get involved with your local Republican or Democratic Party committee, get involved with the elections that are going on, get involved with town committees. I'm a liaison to our solid waste committee and to our economic development committee. These people they're very thoughtful. They're doing a lot of good work. And I encourage more Portsmouth residents, think about volunteering for these committees. They're doing things that actually matter. So I guess if there's one message I have is, please, all of us, we should be paying attention, and as many of us as possible, get involved.
Mark, where can people go to find out more information, contact you, get in touch, ask you questions, have a conversation with you? My email address is, you can definitely come to any town council meeting and give me your peace of mind at that point. But you can contact me at email. It's jrryan@portsmouthri.com. And then we're part of the Portsmouth Town Democratic Committee. We have statements and other information about ourselves posted, and that would be portsmouthdemocrats.com /Ryan. All good ways to get a hold of us, to contact us. And again, we meet every other Monday night, and usually at 7 p.m. Show up, listen. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but if there's stuff that interests you, we're all there. You can ask us questions during the meeting. And, again, it's a great way of getting involved. Excellent. Well, Mark, we wish you the very best of luck here in the upcoming election, and we will chat very soon. Okay. I wish us all a great deal of luck in the upcoming elections. All right. Well, we will talk to you soon. Good luck. Right. Thank you. Greg, thank you. My pleasure. And we want to thank Mark Ryan for taking some time on this Saturday to have a conversation with us about his candidacy for Portsmouth Town Council. If you missed any portion of this video, want to watch it again, want to share it with friends, it's available on whatsupnewp.com, as well as conversations with other Portsmouth candidates. It's going to do it for us for this conversation. We will chat with you soon.